Hi folks, you're with Tastus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the epidemic, or the pandemic, if you like, of fear porn that the globalist controlled international media machine is pushing. They're doing this all across the Western world. It's amazing how they can produce reports in sort of Britain, Australia, United States, Canada, and in exactly the same time, that have the exact same statistics, of the exact same issues, and of course it's all made up. But let's have a look at some of these. One of the ones that's been added recently in the last couple of days to the there's an epidemic of family violence against women. There's an epidemic of pedophilia. There's also an epidemic of trans murder is now the new one that's being pushed. Now, as usual, the figures, assuming they're even remotely accurate in the first place, are attributed to straight white males are the culprits, to the bad guys in every situation. So, and until the globalists are satisfied, they've crushed all the white people that require accountable, honest, clean government. Until they've got rid of all those white people, then and only then maybe will they back off. But as long as there's even, I think, one white person that supports free and fair democratic elections, the rule of law, due legal process in court, the rules of evidence, as long as even one white person left that believes in that, then they have to continue their crushing machine efforts. So, but let's have a look at this now. In terms of the trans thing, what they do is the propagandists, they say, well, 10 people have been killed this year in trans, so they'll try and sort of gin it up to say they'll add it into maybe gay lesbian deaths or murders, alleged murders. And they won't bother about whether or not there was a court hearing that declared that there was a murderer and a murderer. They won't worry about that. They'll just go based on allegations or even pure invention. So they lump it in, and then they'll say every day or once every 5 minutes or something, they'll make up some dramatic sort of phrase or headline here: a trans person is murdered. And but if you start to sort of dig into the numbers, it's not hard. You look at because the articles in the newspapers and they don't cite their sources, or they don't cite the raw data, or if they do mention it, according to a study by a leading university, for example. But if you sort of go and do a bit of hunting around, you can find that it's actually the lesbian gender studies department of some very left-wing university gender studies department. So you've got to doubt the veracity of that information before anything. But then you look at the amount of, say, murders in say trans, for example. It's usually drug gangs and people involved in the drug trade, or in the risky end of the street prostitution sort of market that are killing each other. It's those sorts of things, and they're people who are committing suicide. They're very troubled people, most of them, committing suicide, and that's sort of called a murder because someone said something mean to them online, maybe. So that'll be declared, well, that's really a murder. It's kind of not suicide because somebody said, I don't like the colour of your lipstick, and that's it. They topped themselves, and so that was really, they were sort of provoked into it. Now, the one that sort of they inflate figures on as well is the amount of pedophiles around. Now, I don't doubt there are pedophiles. There clearly are, and how many there are is another matter. But what the propagandists are doing here is they're throwing in all the cases that they have, and I'm sure inventing plenty more, where 16-year-old girl is having intimate relations with 17-year-old boy. And that's, technically that's pedophilia because she's like under the age, and he's one day over the age and she's one day under the age. So that's still technically pedophilia. So they're lumping that in there. And also, there's anyone underage having any sort of intimate relationship with anyone overage, then that's pedophilia. So now I wouldn't classify that as pedophilia personally, a 16-year-old girl and a 17-year-old boy. And I think they'd really struggle to find a jury that would convict the boy in that sort of situation. There's also numerous situations where, say there was a volleyball coach. So the volleyball coach was he's only a young guy himself, and he was teaching. I think it was high school, senior high school maybe, volleyball, and he had started a relationship with a 15-year-old girl who was already sexually active. And I mean, she's like 6 foot tall, very, almost voluptuous, very well built, and sexually active. So she sets her sights a bit higher than the boys in school, and fucks the coach or the assistant coach. Now, because he was like 21 or something and she was 15 when it started, then a few years later, her life's not going so well, and she thinks, it must be because of that. So I'll take him to court, and the evidence in court came out with her texts, which are quite lurid. Earnestly wanting him to be available so she can engage in an act of fellatio and that sort of thing, and I really can't wait till tomorrow when I fuck you, and things like that. I mean, she was being very, very clear. There was no ambiguity in the text that she was sending. Now he was pretty dumb, I guess, to sort of agree to engage in that relationship, and they, even though in the court case they fully accepted she initiated, they fully accepted she quite ruthlessly pursued him, and she was already sexually, that was sort of okay. Well, that's fine, but you're a damn straight white male, motherfucker. So we've got to sort of do something to you. So they still threw the guy in the slammer, even though the relationship continued, on and off until she was of legal age. So they really got him on the technicality that as the assistant coach, he had a duty of care, and he didn't exercise that duty of care appropriately, and so they threw him in prison for that, which was, I thought, quite unnecessary. But there you go. So when you look though at the numbers of pedophiles, a lot of these things where it's sort of strictly pedophilia in a legal definition sense, it's a lot of already very sexually active girls, because only really girls can be victims. Sexually active girls who say are having dating an older guy. Another one, and having intimate relations with an older guy. Another one was I happen to know this guy. He was a music teacher, and he had his own sort of business teaching. There's a number of instruments like piano and, I don't know, saxophone or something like that. So he had he was very much a mummy's boy. He had a very domineering mother, and he kind of wasn't really very confident around women at all. And in comes this very precocious 16-year-old girl who pretty much controls him, and he's sort of putty in her hands, and they have a relationship, and then I think her parents found out, something like that, so they want to bring it to court. And so technically, he's 25 and she's 16, and so he went to prison for that, when in reality he was the child in that situation and she was the adult. But again, on a strictly technical sort of assessment, then it was pedophilia. But when you take away those sort of situations, then the numbers slim down quite a lot. So I'm not sure that an already sexually active girl, 15 or 16, even if it is an older guy and she's the one pursuing it, I don't think that's a legal case justifying incarceration. That's only my view. I mean, I think it's silly of the guys to do it, and I don't know why. That given that age difference, they'd find the relationship sort of practical or workable. But I don't doubt that it happens. And they've been silly, and maybe they should get fired or something like that. But to go to prison, I'm not sure about that. But once you get out of that situation of already sexually active people, be they 15 or 16, then I think the game changes, and it is then a very serious, in my view, very serious crime, and there should be, if proven in an independent court of law with evidence, if proven, then it should be something that warrants a custodial sentence. But as far as I can tell, they're packing the numbers as energetically as they possibly can to produce fear porn type propaganda that's everywhere. Nazis are everywhere, pedophiles are everywhere, transgender hate people are everywhere, and Ku Klux Klan, and all that. And of course, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's just propaganda. And I mentioned another video. A lady I know that got a job as a school counsellor, and she was in her training. She was obviously run through the whole thing by the angry lesbians, and so she came out convinced that 1 in every 2 high school girls is being sexually abused by their fathers. I mean, such is the madness of the propaganda. They're out there, they're everywhere, under every bed, in every closet. You just got to find them. Ask every girl. So if any girl comes in to ask about I'd like some careers counselling or something like that. Is your dad abusing you? I mean, it's that insane. And so this whole fear porn propaganda machine is doing it all up. Now, again, I don't doubt that some of you'll find instances in the United States for a population of over 300 million. You're sure to find an instance somewhere, and more than one. But does that mean it's an epidemic and it's everywhere? No, the only epidemic and pandemic we're facing at the moment is the fear porn bullshit propaganda that's put out by the globalist media elite. You've been with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for listening.